Hey guys, Lorianne here. It's been an interesting week, and it's actually been an interesting morning. I read on the internet this morning that the president's lawyers have actually acknowledged in court, a legal court of law, that, so it's part of the court records, that the birth certificate that he produced to prove that he was eligible to be president of the United States is in fact a forgery. Now, that's been an issue ever since the man was elected, and I have kind of stayed away from that, not because I don't think he's a snake, because I do think he's a snake, but because I feel that way about every president America has had since the Depression, and I see no point in making him any worse than all of the rest of them. I will say that they have, each successive president that we have had has been a bit more evil than the one before him, because the president is just a talking head, folks, and if you don't know that, then you need to wake up, study your Constitution, find out what that document actually says and what those words actually mean, and then take a look at who's really running your country. It's not us, it's not our politicians, and the agenda is marching forward. So if we don't do anything about the agenda of what is to become of America, then each president that we have is going to become successively more evil than the last, because he's a talking head. He's a puppet of the people who pay to put him in office, and he's a puppet of what those people want him to do. And by the time you get anywhere near the presidency, you have sold your soul to the company store, and you will do what you're told, because it's going to make you rich. It's going to give you power, and it's going to make you rich. And when you're the kind of person that can be corrupted by power and wealth, well, politics is the perfect arena for you. And so my interest in that forging of the document really has nothing to do with Barack Obama and his policies, because we have not had a president that upheld the Constitution of the United States of America since the Depression. And so in my opinion, every president that we've had during the Depression and since really ought to be charged with treason, because they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And if you don't like the Constitution, and if you don't believe in what it says, then the proper thing to do is get the document changed to something you can swear an oath to uphold before you become president of the United States, instead of swearing an oath to uphold a document that you have no intention of upholding, because that's treason, pure and simple. And so, anyway, but my actual real wonder here is, how asleep is America? Are we just, I mean, the media has said, the major media has said nothing about this, and it's been, I think, 4 days. So it's leaking out now in other ways. And so what I'm wondering, more to the point here, is how asleep is America? And so if it's okay with the people who have supported Obama that he forged documents so that he could illegally assume a position, if that's okay with them, then it has to be okay with them for people whose politics they don't agree with to forge documents so that they can assume a position that they have no right to. Because you can't have it one way for you and one way for someone else. So who this man is and what his politics are irrelevant to the issue at hand, and that is that unless he can produce, and I'm not saying that he can't, I have pretty much stayed away from this whole argument ever since it began back when he was elected to his first term, because I'm not implying even that he cannot produce a document that proves that he's eligible to be the president of this nation. If he can, then he certainly needs to now. So my question is, if he can't, then are the people who have supported him, if he cannot produce a document that he is legally eligible to be the president of this nation, then the law demands, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It is, in fact, the only law of the land. And if you knew what your Constitution said, you would know that. But most people don't know that, because most people, including the people that we elect to Congress and the Senate, probably don't really understand what that document says. I took a class, actually. As an adult, I decided I wanted to know what that document said, and I took a 13-week sit your ass in the chair, go home, and do your homework class, a Black's Law Dictionary, because Webster's won't do when you're defining legal terms. You need a Black's Law Dictionary. I mean, it was an intense 13-week class that I took, and it just gave me a rudimentary beginning of understanding of what this document says and what those words mean. I would venture to guess that even our politicians have been brainwashed for so long to think it means something else that they don't even know what it means. The document they're swearing to uphold, they have no idea what it means, would be my guess. That would be my hope, because if they do know what it means, then they all belong in prison. Pure and simple. If they know what it means and they do the things that they do when they get to Washington, then they all need to go to prison, because they're the worst criminal offenders that we have in our nation. So anyway, back to my original question. The law demands, if he cannot produce a document proving that he is eligible legally to be the president of this nation, the law demands that he be removed from office. And so even his supporters should, if they believe in honesty, if they believe in integrity, if they believe in the principles that made this country great, even his supporters should demand that he be removed from office. And if they aren't willing to do that, then they have no right ever again to have anything to say about the people that they oppose, who lie and cheat and steal to get to where they are. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, folks. And so I'm really interested in seeing what becomes of this, if anything. You know, how asleep are we as a people? Do we still believe that we're free? And if you still believe that you're free, it's time to pull your head out of the sand, folks, because Americans have not been free for a very long time. And what do I mean by that? When was the last time you did anything without getting your government's permission? We don't call it permission. We have allowed our language to enslave us. You cannot do anything in this country anymore. You cannot even work without a license or a permit. Your Social Security card is your license to work. So you can do nothing in this country anymore without a license or a permit. We call it a license and we call it a permit, but actually what that is paid permission. You are paying your government for permission to do every stinking thing you want to do. And if you think that I'm in error about that, you just go try to do something without a license or a permit and see how far you get. And see what the fact that you failed to get the government's permission then costs you. So anyway, that's the kind of the big news of the day for me. I'm kind of excited to see how this develops and what actually happens. It will give me a real good idea of whether or not America might possibly be returned to freedom in my lifetime. I certainly hope so. And I am willing to pay the price for that. I just don't know how many other Americans are willing to pay the price for that. Whether or not there are a sufficient number of Americans left in this country who know how to think for themselves and are not dependent on the dole to survive, to do anything about the state of our nation. Anyway, but there's some good news. I think that's good news, actually. My political opinions are a little bit outside of the box compared to how most Americans think. Hopefully more Americans will begin to think like me, even if they don't agree with me on all of the details, because we need people who think. We need people who don't just watch the news and believe all that bullshit. There's nothing you hear on the news that isn't propaganda. Nothing that you hear on the news that isn't propaganda. Because if you actually look at who owns the newspapers, if you actually look at who owns Newsweek, if you actually look at who owns the biggest newspapers in America, if you actually look at the money that's behind those things, then it becomes real clear real fast that Americans are fed and form all of their opinions not on truth but on propaganda. And so anyway, but now see, I'm 10 minutes in, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't care about the clock today. Justin Farinja, I heard a training from Justin Farinja this morning while I was out walking the Danes, and he said he just rambles on for like 20-25 minutes. So I decided I don't care about the clock. If Justin can do it, I can do it. We bought our RV on Saturday. We went and looked at two, and we bought the second one we saw. We gave him a down payment, and we'll finish paying it off when the 401k money comes in. And so the last step, the last thing that has to be ironed out in terms of our pulling up stakes here in Vermont and heading west is the house. And so we're working on getting that nailed down as well. I'm gonna talk to some property managers this week and find out how long that process takes from hiring a property manager to actually having the house rented, so that we know if the house hasn't been sold by this day, then we need to flip over to plan B, which is to rent it. And so that's very good news. I think I've told you all that my husband's last day is April 16th, and so today's Tuesday. So his official 21-day countdown starts today, and I'm sure he's at work just really thrilled about that. I'm thrilled about that for him. And my replacement, which this is hysterical. I gave my co-op a 5-week notice that I was getting done, and they did ask me if I would stay and sub for the 2 hard days until they replaced me, which I said I would do, and I was happy to do that. And that was my last day was in January, the middle of January, before the Austin event. And so here it is, end of March, and they have finally replaced me. One of the girls who's already in the department is moving over to cover those days, and so I'm about to actually really be a free woman in all regards soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. And so that's nice. I love my co-op. I love the whole co-op concept, and I will continue to super work there, which is basically volunteering up until the day that we drive down the driveway, a couple hours a week anyway. So things are really moving forward for us, and I am really excited about it. We're going to probably, when we take off from here, there's a few things Tom wants to do. One of the things I want to do is stop in Kansas and see my best ever friend Mary, who is one of the most delightful women I know. And so Mary, if you're watching this, mark on your calendar sometime in June. Tom, Lorianne, and the Danes are going to be parking their RV in front of your house and running in and smooching all over your neck. So, if you want to get a bodyguard, girl, now's the time to do it. Anyway, so let me see. Is there anything else that I really just won't be able to bear it if I think later on in the day that, I forgot to tell him this? Probably not. So this is Lorianne. This is Life with Lorianne today. It's a little bit political, not because I'm... I am very politically minded, but I'm not politically minded in the way that most people are politically minded. I'm not a Democrat. I think they're awful. I'm not a Republican. I think they're awful. I think they're both treasonous to the United States of America, as I said before. I'm not an independent. I'm not a Tea Party person. I'm basically just an American who believes in the Constitution. I'm an American who believes in personal responsibility. I'm an American who believes that the Constitution should be upheld and that the government should get their asses out of our life. I'm a citizen who loves her country but hates her government because the government has become oppressive and the government violates the rights of the people it has sworn to serve every stinking day. And so now you know how I feel about politics, folks. And it's okay with me if you don't agree, because I don't have to make you wrong. It's one of the things, one of the places that I have really arrived at in life, and I'm not even certain how I got there, is that I don't have to make you wrong in order to feel right about the road that I am on. And so with that said, y'all have a great day, and I will be back here talking to you tomorrow. See you, bye.